What is going on, Headliner Nation? Jake, Fantasy Headliners. Hopefully everybody's doing well out there today. Well, we're doing a little bit of a recap, right? I mean, myself and Kyle have been putting out videos every single day, at least one per day, since like the beginning of June. It's been a pretty crazy couple of months, and there's a lot of information sitting out there. Now, we know a lot of people are just now getting into their fantasy football leagues, so we wanted to take a quick second to do a little bit of a recap video. Some of the players we absolutely love here for 2020 fantasy football. Now, I have all the four positions. We got quarterbacks, running backs, wide receivers, and tight ends. All of our must-haves here in one video. We have a few little, bullet points as to why. However, if you're looking for the deep diving information on all of these guys, there's a link down below in the description, so make sure you check that out. But we're going to get right into it because we're going to start off with the quarterback position. And we're going to kick it off with the ones that I had highlighted here this offseason. It's Matt Ryan and Drew Lock, a guy that you can get a little bit early, a guy that you can get super late. Now, for Matt Ryan, I've talked about this division all offseason. Love that it's a pass-heavy offense. The Falcons threw the ball more than anybody else last year. A now healthy offensive line. Hopefully, the addition of Todd Gurley improves the run game enough to draw a few defenders in, giving more one-on-one coverage on the outside to the wide receivers. And they have a schedule full of potential blowouts. Absolutely love myself some Matty Ice. Also, Drew Lock, a guy that a lot of people were high on just a couple months ago. And I really don't understand why it kind of fizzled off. I mean, he's a great price tag, right? He's basically free almost on draft day, depending on your league size. He's got weapons all over the field. Literally, we broke it down how he has top 10 quarterback potential. Now, is that an absolute given? No, but you're drafting him towards the end of drafts, and the upside is huge for Drew Lock. And another one of these guys with a nice schedule where he's going to have to throw the ball a lot this year. That's what we're looking for. These quarterbacks are going to throw the ball 500, 550 plus times. As for Kyle, he had his own set of quarterbacks that were must-haves for him, and he absolutely loves this year. First one being Matthew Stafford, Detroit Lions. Now, a lot of people scared off of the injury last year of Matt Stafford, but look at this offseason. No early draft picks at the quarterback position. Didn't bring any big-name free agents. They could have signed an Andy Dalton or brought in a Jameis Winston or something if they were really worried. They weren't. They know that Matthew Stafford is going to be back to health. This guy was at an MVP caliber before he went out last year. A run game now with DeAndre Swift. We're starting to see reports about DeAndre Swift and how he could really take this offense to the next level. Matthew Stafford, definitely somebody that Kyle loves. Same with Dak Prescott. We've been talking about Dak Prescott for years. And for years, we have got nothing but hate about said Dak Prescott. Well, now it's finally, to the point where people are on board with it. And maybe he's almost to the point where he's getting too expensive in drafts just because he's so consistent, right? You know what you're going to get year in and year out with Dak Prescott. Slight rushing upside. And now a trio of wide receivers that are all capable of 1,000-yard seasons. Are they all going to get there? It's somewhat debatable, but the potential is there. And with Zeke in the backfield, Dak Prescott in line for another huge fantasy football year here in 2020. But what about some running backs? Now, as much as I hate to say it, I had to put the little asterisk next to Miles Sanders' name because we really need to monitor this injury here this offseason for the next few weeks at least. Now, part of me really believes that they want to just take it easy with Miles Sanders to make sure that he's 100%, but we don't have a whole lot of details. One thing that we do know, there's no way he's going to suffer a season-ending injury in training camp the rest of the year, right? Because more than likely, he'll probably sit out the remainder, if not most, of the remaining practices, which is fine. The guy is ready to go. He's been training all offseason. He really has no competition for backfield carries, Boston Scott. He's somewhat banged up also. And don't forget, last year, in just the few games that this guy saw at least 15 total touches, he averaged 17.5 fantasy points per game. He's efficient, and we love ourselves some Miles Sanders. Just make sure that we pay attention to these injury reports depending when your draft is. Hopefully, you guys wait. A lot of people drafted early this year, and I get it. It's the year of the Rona, right? A lot of people were bored. They had nothing to do. They heard there's no preseason games, and they started drafting. Well, you can still get hurt in training camp, so please postpone your drafts as long as you possibly can, and it's for reasons like this. Next guy I really like, Austin Eckler. I get a lot of hate on Austin Eckler, and a lot of people don't want to agree with this one, and that's fine. If we always agreed on everything, this show would be boring to watch. But Austin Eckler, he doesn't need to be a workhorse, right? This doesn't need to be a running back who gets 400 touches. He doesn't need Derrick Henry volume. He is extremely efficient, and he has always shared a backfield. I mean, Melvin Gordon has been there for years with him, and he's still producing, solid fantasy football points. The offensive line is much improved. If you're in a PPR league, I love myself some Austin Eckler, and he's really not one of these guys that has to go out there and score 10 touchdowns to have a great fantasy year. Doesn't need a whole lot of touches, and that efficiency is the reason that I want myself some Austin Eckler. And then Kenyon Drake, another guy that I really, really love, and no, not because I'm a Cardinals fan. I mean, they brought in DeAndre Hopkins, more weapons on the outside, less stacked boxes, because this offensive line is not the greatest. However, don't forget, I broke this down in depth in the video when I talked about Kenyon Drake. If you take all of the starting running backs last year for the Arizona Cardinals, just the guys who started the game, whether it was David Johnson, Chase Edmonds, or Kenyon Drake, they would have been running back 3 overall. It's this type of offense. The air raid offense really opens things up for the running game, and Kenyon Drake being capable of playing all 3 downs is something we absolutely love. I call him a hybrid of a Dalvin Cook, Miles Sanders type running back. He really gets no respect because he was overlooked in Miami. He was misused in Miami and then shipped to Arizona. The guy hasn't been dealt the best cards, no pun intended, but this is his year to absolutely break out. Love myself some Kenyon Drake. I mean, how could I have one of these lists and not have Nick Chubb on it, right? I mean, a lot of people want to sit back and say it's biased just because I like the guy. Nope, that's not it. If that's the case, I wouldn't have the math to back it up. People who are out there fading the number 2 rusher in the NFL because he has a concussion and because of Kareem Hunt, it's crazy to me. They're not just going to abandon Nick Chubb. This offensive line, way better than last year. The outside weapons with Odell Beckham, who looks to be finally close to 100%. Reports coming out that Jarvis Landry is going to be good. You have the dual tight ends with Njoku and Hooper. It's going to be a run-heavy offense. And I broke this down in the video. There are going to be plenty of touches to go around for Kareem Hunt and Nick Chubb. Nick Chubb going to get the bulk of the early down work. Kareem Hunt, it would not surprise me to see Kareem Hunt in the slot at times. He has value too. He's another one of these guys who may be, a quote-unquote handcuff, but he has weekly startable value in fantasy football. They both do, and people just want to fade Nick Chubb because of the Kareem Hunt argument. Get over it. It's not 2017 anymore. It's a different Kareem Hunt. It's a different running offense. Give me Nick Chubb, especially if people want to start fading him, and he drops to the 2nd round. Love me some Nick Chubb. A couple guys that Kyle likes and I really can't argue with either, Josh Jacobs and Joe Mixon. Now for Jacobs, we've both been on this bandwagon since him and I left Indianapolis. When we sat there and we talked to Mike Mayock and he said, listen, we want to get this guy more involved in the passing game. He has that ability. And then Josh Jacobs comes out recently and says, hey man, I want to get close to 60 receptions. That would be absolute gold in fantasy football. There's nobody to challenge for touches in this backfield. A lot of people want to point to the re-signing of Jalen Richard or something. No, this is the Josh Jacobs show in the backfield. Obviously, he will not be out there for every single snap. They have to have some depth, but Josh Jacobs is still the guy. And now they have some weapons on the outside to take some of that defensive attention just off of the running game. Because what did they have in Oakland last year to pull defenders outside of the box? Not a whole lot. What, Tyrell Williams? They're going to need more than that. This year they do. We love ourselves some Josh Jacobs. Now, Joe Mixon, Kyle may be driving the Joe Mixon bus this offseason. He has him ranked super high. I mean, he may have went more in depth on Joe Mixon in his video than any other running back that I've ever seen Kyle go in depth on. And it's because a lot of people want to try to hate on Joe Mixon and say, yeah, the guy's had a chance. He hasn't done anything with it. When you actually break down the numbers on Joe Mixon, the guy is actually really good. Their offensive line is going to be improved. They get back, former first-round pick Jonah Williams. That's a big boost to the offensive line. There's not any competition in the backfield. We worried about Gio Bernard taking the job? No, not really. Weapons on the outside. Sure, A.J. Green already nursing an injury, but hey, that's A.J. Green, and what else is there to really expect from A.J. Green? You still have Tyler Boyd, T. Higgins. I mean, there's still other options in this offense that are more than capable with Joe Burrow under center to produce some decent offensive output. Joe Mixon, definitely somebody who Kyle loves this year. And you definitely need to check out that video if you have any hate in your heart towards Joe Mixon. Let's go to wide receivers now. I mean, there's a lot of wide receivers that everybody loves out there, right? Maybe the deepest position in all of fantasy football. But I'm not going to sit here and say, oh yeah, I love Michael Thomas and I love Devontae Adams and Julio Jones. Yeah, everybody does. That's why they're being drafted so freaking early. These guys you can get a little bit later, and I love the upside of them. First one, DK Metcalf. If you were impressed with what you saw his rookie year, wait till you see his second year when he gets a little bit of added volume. The guy is going to beast this year, and his ability to get open in the end zone is something that is not overlooked. He's going to be once again among the league leaders in end zone targets, which is what we're looking for. He's going to be a huge big play threat. Russ likes to throw the deep ball, and DK can go and get it. And like I just said, with Russell Wilson playing quarterback, you know he's going to be seeing quality targets. DK Metcalf is going to be an absolute beast for years to come. Love him here this year. Bobby Trees, Robert Woods, definitely on the Robert Woods bandwagon, and he's not flashy, right? It's not the sexy name on your roster that you want to see, but he produces when he's on the field, and it's all about the volume. The volume here in LA. No more Brandon Cooks, more vacated targets, a possible struggling running game until they can get some kind of consistency, either whether it's, Darrell Henderson or Cam Akers, Malcolm Brown, whoever it may be. Bobby Trees is the safest option in this offense, and he can make things happen once the ball is in his hands. He was one of the league leaders in yak yards, and he's cheaper on draft day. Sign me up for some Robert Woods all day long. If you go heavy running back, if you go running back, and you're looking for some safety, some solid plays at the wide receiver position, that's where you'll find Bobby Trees, and he's definitely going to be on a lot of my lineups here in 2020. Last guy is going to be Mecole Hardman. I feel like I've been talking about him for months at this point, trying to tell people that this is the kid you need to draft late in your fantasy football drafts. And now that Tyreek Hill is somewhat banged up, now people want to talk about Mecole Hardman. I mean, before when I was talking about it, nobody wanted to pay any attention to it. They want to just blow it off. This kid is extremely talented. He is a split second slower than Tyreek Hill and has only played wide receiver for 3 years in his life. The guy is only getting better. We have not seen the ceiling. His efficiency is through the roof. And it's a pass-first offense. I mean, he's got Patrick Mahomes throwing the football to him. The upside is huge and the risk is minimal, especially when you take into account that this guy is going like after the 12th round in some drafts. I mean, throw him on the bottom of your bench. If he hits, you're going to be super pumped. And even if he doesn't, you don't lose anything because you didn't take an early draft pick to get him. He's definitely a name I'm paying attention to. What about Kyle's guys? First guy's got Allen Robinson. I mean, we're talking about volume, right? We're looking for those targets for these wide receivers. And Allen Robinson was one of the league leaders in targets last year, and nobody wants to pay attention to it. Sure, his quarterback play isn't the best, and we have no idea whether it's Mitch Magic or it's going to be Nick Foles. We have no idea, but does it really matter? He's really the only option in this passing game to go down the field, and he's going to see a lot of targets once again. Red zone. He's going to be the red zone guy. Are we really worried about Jimmy Graham? Jimmy Graham hasn't been a thing for like 20 years, it feels like. The big playability is there. The volume is there. The consistency is there. And am I the only one out there that wishes we could see Allen Robinson with a great quarterback? Because he's had to deal with like Blake Bortles and Mitch Magic. I mean, could you imagine if this guy got himself a Russell Wilson or an Aaron Rodgers or something? This guy could put up ridiculous numbers. Love Allen Robinson. Kenny G, big play Kenny Golladay is what Kyle wants to call him now, is the next wide receiver up, and we really love Kenny G. We may have him ranked higher than anybody else in the industry at this point just because of the potential that Kenny G has. He's kind of similar somewhat to a DK Metcalf in the fact that he thrives off the deep ball. He's great in the end zone. He's got that huge touchdown upside. He's somewhat, Kenny Golladay is somewhat quarterback proof, right? Because even when Matthew Stafford went down last year, Kenny G was still producing. Now he gets a healthy Matthew Stafford back, and if he's healthy for a full 16 games, we could be in line for a huge, huge season for Kenny Golladay. We've written articles, we've made videos. Kenny Golladay is in line and would not surprise us if he finishes inside the top 5 wide receivers here this year. Love Kenny G. Tyreek Hill, kind of coincidence that we have 2 Kansas City wide receivers? Nope, not really. Why? Mahomes is why. The offense is why. The game-breaking speed of a Tyreek Hill is why. Now, another one of these guys that we kind of need to monitor, right? Nothing's really come out to say how severe, if at all, His injury was here in camp, his hamstring injury. It's just something to pay attention to. Now, obviously here, we're going to keep you updated all throughout the offseason, so make sure you hit the subscribe button and really make sure that you pay attention to these training camp update videos when they come out, because that's when we're going to give you all the latest breaking information on these player injuries. But for right now, until we hear anything further, Tyreek Hill is still going to be one of those top wide receivers in football, and we're going to absolutely love him just because he's not solely dependent on that huge volume, right? He can put up big numbers with small targets, which is great. It's like the next best thing, right? We're looking for huge volume or guys who do a lot with a little. Tyreek Hill fits that mold, and that's why he's got to be one of Kyle's must-haves here in 2020. There was one guy, however, that we did not agree on, and it's Amari Cooper, and I'm sure you guys have seen the videos by now. Kyle had him as a must-have wide receiver. I had him as a do-not-draft wide receiver. And there's literally an argument for both sides, right? I think Kyle put together a great argument. I feel like I put together a great argument also. However, he's just one of those guys that a lot of people are really, really torn on. And if you have that feeling towards a player, he probably shouldn't be drafted on your team, in my opinion. It may be one of those things where every single week you're just crossing your fingers, and you shouldn't have to do that with your wide receiver 1. If he's your wide receiver 2, okay, I get it. I don't hate that as bad. But leave it down below in the comment section. Are you team always Amari with Kyle? Are you team Amari Pooper with me? It'd be interesting to see those comments down below. What about tight ends, the football kind? The two I highlighted here recently, Rob Gronkowski and Hayden Hurst. And Gronk, for me, is not an overhype by any means because you're getting him after the 7th round in most drafts. It really depends on your league size and league settings. But it's a pass-heavy offense now in Tampa Bay, and he has the chemistry with Tom Brady. Do you really think, honestly, that he talked Gronk out of retirement to come to Tampa Bay to not be used and still be among one of the league leaders in salary for the tight end position? No, I really don't see that, just for them to turn around and use O.J. Howard and Cameron Brate. Rob Gronkowski is still going to be a huge part of this offense, and the part that I love the most is the red zone part. Get him some touchdowns. Is this guy going to go out there and get you 1,000 yards receiving? Probably not. Those days may be over. Could he get you 600-700 yards receiving and 10 touchdowns? Absolutely, and those are well inside top 10 numbers. I like Gronk. Hayden Hurst, great price tag, right? Probably get him in the double-digit rounds of most of your fantasy football drafts, and you know he's going to get an immediate target share because Austin Hooper is no longer in town. He could walk in there and easily see 80, 90 to 100 targets this season, and with the outside weapons of Calvin Ridley and Julio Jones, the underneath is going to be wide open for one Hayden Hurst, and we know that tight ends are going to be used in Atlanta. They've been used there forever, and Hayden Hurst walks into a great position, a great draft day price. Love me some Hayden Hurst. For Kyle, he's got Mark Andrews and Hunter Henry. Now, he's super high on Mark Andrews. Even said in his video there's a chance that he could have him easily inside the top 3 and would not surprise him if he was the tight end 1 overall at the end of the season. Why? Well, no Hayden Hurst. Did you guys know that Hayden Hurst and Mark Andrews played just about the same amount of snaps last year? Yet Mark Andrews finishes one of the top tight ends in fantasy football. He's the top target of Lamar Jackson, still has room to grow, has that big play upside, and like I said, if he can just play a few more snaps, we're looking at some potential huge numbers for Mark Andrews if the improvement comes from Marquise Hollywood Brown, like a lot of people are thinking. That's only going to leave Mark Andrews more open because it gives the defense more, people to pay attention to. Last year, Hollywood Brown wasn't 100% healthy. Defenses didn't have to key in on him. If this guy's gained 23 pounds of muscle and is 100% healthy, it's going to cause problems for the defense and take the top off the defense at times. Mark Andrews could only feast more from that. Kyle absolutely loves him. Hunter Henry, another one of those guys that, we love the upside, right? We love the potential of Hunter Henry. We just got to keep him on the field. If this guy could play 16 games, easily a top 5 tight end as long as he's on the field. The Tyrod Taylor effect, we know that Tyrod focuses in on his tight ends. It's kind of like his safety valve. You remember Charles Clay back in Buffalo? Tyrod Taylor was that quarterback. As of right now, though, Hunter Henry, he's healthy. He has that huge touchdown upside. And like I said, if we can keep him on the field for 16 games in this offense, easily top 5 upside for Hunter Henry. He's one of Kyle's must-haves. So there's a quick recap of the players we love here for 2020. Like I said, I have links down below in the description to all of these videos. If you're looking for the in-depth, the stats, the numbers, the math, all that kind of stuff, that's where you're going to find it. We just want to make sure we had a video out there as a quick recap if you needed a quick reference for these names. We know a lot of fantasy football drafts are coming up right around the corner, and we want to make sure that you are prepared for them. If you have not drafted yet and you feel like you're a little bit behind, don't worry. Our draft guide is still for sale on the website, thefantasyheadliners.com. You can still get your copy. They're flying off the virtual shelves. People are buying them up quickly, and you can just scroll through other videos, read the comments. There's a lot of great comments out there. I'm not going to sit here and tell you how great it is. I'm not a salesman. Go take it from the people who have actually bought it, and if they love it, you know you will too. So we greatly appreciate the support. The channel continues to grow. We're making our push towards 100,000 subscribers. So if you enjoyed the content, make sure you hit that like button and the subscribe button. We greatly appreciate the support. We'll talk to you later.